There are a number of charts that you would expect to see in your board papers. Now, mainly these will be the four key charts that we've talked about elsewhere. The control chart, the line or run chart, the Pareto chart, and the distribution. But all of these charts must pass the 1 minute test. In other words, could you give the chart to a member of the public that's never seen the data before and get them to explain it to you in under a minute? If it takes them longer than that, or they're confused, or they just simply don't understand it, then you need to go back and simplify the chart so that the presentation doesn't get in the way of the data. The first of the non-standard charts that I'm going to mention is the pie chart. Thankfully becoming less and less common in board papers, but you still see it. And what's the problem with pie charts? It's a classic case of form over function. It looks pretty, and all the software packages let you produce a pie chart. But unfortunately for the eye, it's extremely difficult to discern the different sizes of the segments. You should really be using that data to plot a Pareto chart, where you put the biggest bar on the left, then the next biggest, then the next biggest, and so on. And therefore it's easy to see which of the bars is biggest, whereas in a pie chart that becomes extremely difficult. So when should you use a pie chart? Well, frankly, never. Get rid of them. Don't use them at all. In fact, here is the only useful pie chart. The main non-standard chart that I see most often, and I'd like you to try and get rid of, is the bar chart. So it's columns plotted per month or per week or per quarter. So in other words, it's data plotted over time, and the problem is it looks like a distribution. The other issue is you're focused on the height of the bar, which is perfectly acceptable when you're looking at distribution, but when you're looking at data over time, you should be much more interested in the variation. In other words, just the very top of the bar and not the whole bar itself. So what you should do is take this data and ask for it to be plotted as a control chart, or at very least a line or a run chart. Plotting it as a bar chart just confuses us. We expect it to be a snapshot of the process, but in fact it is actually data over time. The final non-standard chart that I'm going to mention here is the one that has too much information on it. The example here is a simple line chart, but there's several sets of data all on top of each other, and it's really difficult to discern what's happening to the variation and any trends or structural changes within your system. A chart like this almost never passes the 1 minute test, where you can look at it and explain what it's all about in under a minute. And this is usually caused by an aversion about putting too much data side by side. People try and plot just 12 months within the data chart, and then they add another 12 months on top of that, and then another 12 months, etc. And it just becomes too confusing. Why not put them sequentially, 1 year after another, so that we can see the trend over time?